If you're a real estate agent and you're tired of cold calling, door knocking, and spending money on ads, then subscribe to this podcast. We discuss leveraging the power of YouTube for your real estate business and how these strategies earned us over $1 million in GCI our first year in real estate. My name is Levi Lascsak and my partner is Travis Plumb. Let's get started. Okay, guys. Well, allow me to introduce Rob from Robuilt, the YouTube channel Robuilt. And I tell you what, this is I'm really excited about this today. And just to assure Rob, we've got a hard stop at 11:30 Eastern or 11:30 Central, 11:30 Central time. So 1 hour, we capped this room at 1 hour just to be respectful of everybody's time. But yeah, Rob is his channel, Robuilt, is one of my favorite channels. And I had watched it for quite some time. One of the channels too, I came across initially in my YouTube research before starting out on real estate. Now, he doesn't focus on residential sales, but he focuses on tiny homes and Airbnb. And not only a great creator, but a really smart business guy too. And I'll tell you what, whenever you see his channel from the standpoint of watching it from the creator side, it's absolutely just really good how he shoots everything, thinks out his planning of the video. So from that standpoint, you'll see a lot of things that some of the best YouTubers, in my opinion, conduct on their videos. In addition to that, he is running a full-time business, several businesses actually. So he has several tiny homes. I don't know the exact count, but I'm sure he can fill us in on that. In addition to that, he's even started to build, at least based on our last discussion, was starting to build an entire tiny home community in Tennessee. So he's originally from the Los Angeles area, and that's where he started out with his first few tiny homes in those areas, and also putting them in unique spots, kind of like Joshua Tree and some of those other areas. And of course, hopefully there's not too much background noise, but it's whenever my lawn guy decided to show up. So we'll try to keep that as quiet as possible. But otherwise, Rob, not only does he have the tiny homes, but he is, Airbnb, is that a word? All of these properties as well. And so a tremendous amount of knowledge on Airbnb, and a prime example of how you can use YouTube to fuel, your outside business. So on top of that, right now, Rob has 135,000 subscribers, over 6.1 million views, and I tell you what, he's doing quite well. And also, I got the opportunity to meet Rob at Vid Summit a couple of weeks ago in Los Angeles. It was funny. We were sitting at the bar grabbing a bite to eat, and he walks up beside me to order a drink. And I just go, "Rob, how's it?" I was like, "How you doing?" And he had no idea he had the most befuddled look on his face because, he didn't know who I was. But that's, again, the great thing about YouTube. Just as we talk about developing, your clients or your potential customers develop relationships with you before they even meet you. But so, watching his channel, being a fan from the other side of the computer, you could say, it was just cool to see him. He's standing there right beside me. And then just to have a discussion with him, super cool dude, just like he is on camera, a Chipotle lover as well. That's very important to his bio. But overall, just super cool dude. And we just, chatting it up. And that was really what I loved most about Vid Summit is it's a creator conference. It's for creators. And so I got to meet so many people that, I've watched their channels for some time, and then we just, had some more discussions on and off throughout, and you develop a friendship over, the course of Vid Summit. So it was just a great opportunity to get to know Rob. And so, yeah, I just reached out to him. We chat back and forth, playing catch up. And I just said, "Hey man, would you be able to jump on here and kind of give some background, some details, his origin stories?" He was more than happy to do that. Now, I do know he had a scheduling conflict a little bit. He's on the road, so we'll try to manage that as best as possible. But Rob, if you can, are you able to, you can control your mic now, I believe?
Yes, I can, man. I have been given full autonomy of the mute button.
Okay, awesome, man. Well, Well, thank you, Rob, for coming on. And yeah, would you like to add anything, or is there anything we should know specifically about your background? I can see you there through the steering wheel for those of
Yeah,
you on.
I'm parked out of Bojangles, man. So no sweat. I'm not driving anymore. Yeah, a little bit of background. So my editor, this is actually a very appropriate time because my editor's here. So if you ask any YouTube questions, there's gonna be like, ask this guy. Yeah, man, I'm gonna try to live up to as cool as you made me sound. No guarantees, obviously. I will say you did clarify very quickly at the bar because you were like, Rob, and I was like, oh man, I feel like such an asshole because I was like, I don't know, I don't remember him, and I was like, I'm pretty good about names, and you're like, you don't know me, and I was like, oh my gosh, thank goodness. But yeah, man, I'm not a realtor, but I will be. After talking to you, kind of opened my eyes a little bit to like how to monetize YouTube kind of one step further, because I think for a lot of content creators, they're not very good at figuring out how to monetize YouTube. Like a lot of people think that AdSense is like the main way to create like cash flow and income from YouTube. But my buddy said a long time ago, like if the most money that you make on YouTube is through AdSense, you're doing it wrong. And I kind of agree with that now, especially after going to Vid Summit and talking to you and being like, man, there's like a whole nother world out there that, I can really be pursuing. So I'm going to become a realtor. I'm still deciding which state, if I want it to be Tennessee, Texas, or LA, but it's in the works right now for sure.
Awesome. Well, we're happy to help you out in that venture as well. So as we know, we've had those discussions offline. So yeah, super excited about that. I think that's a great thing. So could you kind of tell everybody how you got into YouTube? And I forgot to add this point. His channel is less than 2 years old, everyone. So less than 2 years old, already 135,000 subscribers. That is tremendous. So let me ask you this: which came first, Rob, the chicken or the egg? Did you start YouTube first, or did you have a tiny house first, or were you doing Airbnb out of one of your bedrooms? Which came first, Airbnb, tiny home, or YouTube?
Yeah, I was definitely doing tiny homes and Airbnb first. And when I started my YouTube channel, I actually started it off as a like a DIY kind of do it yourself, like home remodeling type of channel. Because there's these two channels that I used to watch. One is called Homemade Modern, and the other one's called Modern Builds. And those are like my favorite channels. And I was just like, man, it would be so cool to have a channel where I can build stuff and then inspire other people to build stuff too. And so, I was like, all right, that's what I'm going to do. And I had the Airbnb business and the tiny house business going and everything, but I don't know. I was like pretty against having my channel be Airbnb and tiny houses. And I think it's because I just thought that the niche or the genre was a little boring. And so I guess I felt like maybe that I had to be like a little bit like kind of more just not myself. Like I was like, a lot of the Airbnb content out there was just so dry and educational. And that's not like a bad thing necessarily, but sorry, hold on. Did I just connect to your AirPods? That's so weird. Sorry. Anyways, so this is very random. Caleb put on headphones, and for some reason my phone connected to that for a second. But a lot of the Airbnb content out there, which is very like dry and educational, and like, there's a very large population that likes that for sure. Like a lot of people watch my channel and they're like, yeah, I would like your channel if you weren't funny, and I'm like, well, then you don't watch my channel then, and I don't know, I was just kind of like nervous of what that would be. But then I made like a vlog, like my third video was a vlog about my tiny house, and it was like very bad. It was just on an iPhone on a tripod. The framing wasn't much better than this, like it was pretty kind of down and dirty. And I made that, put it out to the universe. And then I continued to make a bunch of other content about, home remodeling and stuff like that. Well, about 6 months into my journey, I had bought like a professional camera, like my first professional, it was like $500. But for me, that was like a big chunk of change at the time. And I was like trying to convince my wife, I was like, hey, can I buy this camera? Like, I'll use credit card points. And she's like, I don't care. Like, please let me do it. And she's like, I literally don't care. And I had to like really talk myself into it because I don't know. I didn't want to drop the cash, and I wasn't sure if I was like ready to commit to YouTube like that. And so the day I bought that camera was like the day that I was like, okay, I'm a YouTuber now. Like I'm going to do this. And I put a lot of effort into just learning how to edit and how to shoot videos and how to do all that kind of stuff. And so I spent like way more time on those videos trying to make them good. And I was like really proud of it. And after having a few high quality, like my first high quality videos where I was really like editing for like 16, 20 hours on a video and stuff, my third video that I shot on an iPhone about tiny houses like took off for whatever reason. You never know when a video is going to take off or why it's going to take off. And my third video that I'd ever posted that was like not good at all took off. And I was like kind of annoyed because I was like, why is this video all of a sudden getting views? And it sucks when all the videos that I actually like put so much time and heart into, like those aren't performing well at all. And but then it kind of set off like a chain reaction of like some of my other content that was a little bit higher quality. And it was like I was starting to do more Airbnb kind of construction videos, which was sort of like filler videos at the time, because I was just like trying to, you know, I knew that you had to do it like once a week and I didn't have any like home remodeling projects going on. So I was like, oh, I'll just make like a video on my house that I'm building in Joshua Tree. And those took off. And so ultimately ended up being a good thing because, you know, as much as I was against doing like tiny house and Airbnb and real estate content, I was also like, okay, well, you know, maybe I can like be the weird quirky take on real estate and on tiny houses and Airbnb. And I'm just, that's what I ended up doing. Like it kind of set off a chain reaction of Airbnb and tiny houses. And I was like, all right, I guess that's what my channel is now. And I haven't really looked back since. And I'm really glad that I just like got over like the idea that I had to conform to everyone else, because I really just wanted to be as unique as possible. And I don't know. Yeah, it was just kind of one of those things I had to really like battle with. Like, do I want to conform or do I just want to like try it my way? And luckily, I feel like I tried it my way and it worked out, or it's working out so far.
Yeah, that's great. I think a couple of good really points in that is that we talk about is you followed the audience, right? I mean, so you saw where the hits started to happen, and because that is in your wheelhouse, you were just able to adjust. It wasn't that you had to completely shift strategy, but you just needed to adjust content creation and just, okay, this is what the audience is clearly asking for, you could say. And so they're, okay, let me shift some content. We talked about this, I think in last week's room, to where if you see something, an opportunity, especially most of the people on this call are real estate agents. So they're looking how to monetize that business. Well, if you start making videos about several different areas or neighborhoods in your city, and they're all kind of, you know, the same, except you see one neighborhood or one video take off and it's really focused on one neighborhood, that's the time to capitalize on that opportunity, right? So you should double down, triple down, or make your next video, even if maybe if you have a publishing schedule built out, then you should think, okay, well, this video took off. Clearly people either like the content, how you made that, or the actual neighborhood or area you're featuring. So go ahead and try to make a second or third video, maybe shift some of your content strategy. So that's pretty great. So how was your business, your Airbnb business, before you know, and then after you started, those videos started to take off? Was there a big effect, or do you think just kind of working the system in Airbnb? Because I have it as well. And I'm a super host, and I know as a super host, you're given special privileges and I mean, it's like, I do zero marketing and my Airbnb is fully booked all the time. So was it a big difference, or what'd you see in the shift?
You know, not really, but it's kind of like attribution on something like that is actually pretty tough for a couple of reasons. I mean, if someone sees my tiny house on Airbnb, for example, when they go to book it, it's not like they're saying, oh my God, you know, hey, I'm looking forward to staying at your place. I love your channel, by the way. Like, I love this tiny house. Right. I would say I've had maybe like 4 or 5 people that have messaged me and said that. That doesn't mean that people like that doesn't mean that those are the only people that have booked it because of Airbnb. Because I will say, like, my tiny house is probably like the most viral tiny house on the internet. Like, it's gone viral several times with other creators. I think just some guy made a TikTok on it, and that TikTok got put on like Facebook and Twitter and all this stuff, and that got like 15 million views or something like that. Like, he got more views on my tiny house than I did. Levi Kelly's done a tour on it, and I think that's like his second or third most viewed video with like 2 million views. So I'm sure it helped in some regard. But here's a really cool thing: like, the house is awesome. It's a cute little like mid-century modern 2-story tiny house. It's unique on its own. For my mindset going into Airbnb in general is to like always be top 10% of your market, like try to be like the top 10% listings. And that's not always necessarily applicable, but that doesn't necessarily mean that can't be my mindset. And it books, I strongly believe that if my channel shut down or if it had never started, it probably would have booked the same. Because it really kind of went live during the whole pandemic. And Joshua Tree was exploding at that time, and like people were just trying to get away from LA. And so I was booked solid. I mean, I think in my first year, if I remember correctly, I grossed $83,000 on that house, and then my net on that tiny house was like $57,000. I don't think I'll ever have a year that good again, but hey, I'll take it.
But still netting 57,000, and you say in a bad year, if you netted 30 or 40,000, still, net is
insane.
Yeah. So that's one tiny house. How many tiny houses do you have now?
At this moment, I guess I have 3 technically. Like I've got the tiny house in my backyard, which is an accessory dwelling unit. I've got a tiny house in Joshua Tree, and then I've got a tiny A-frame in Arizona as well. And then I've got I think that's it. Yeah, I kind of lose count these days. I've got like Airstreams and yurts and tents as well. And then the tiny house community that I'm working on here, it's kind of shifted a little bit. It's still kind of within the tiny house movement, but it's actually going to be more of like, a glamping treehouse hotel more than like a tiny house village. But all of the spaces are going to be tiny. I mean, they're all going to be like, they're going to be around 200 to 300 square feet. So still within the mindset, but just a little bit of a different vibe overall.
Okay. So how many rooms, you could say, between everything do you plan to put on the in the community?
Yeah, I think I'm permitting right now 9 possible units. My property allows me to permit up to 26 and build up to 26. There's a lot of engineering and if anyone follows the channel, it's been a 9-10 month process to get to this point, which I kind of expected, but kind of issues arose out of my control with, people, contractors getting back to me and people wanting to, I've had a tough time getting people to answer the phone out here. And I think that's pretty much the case across the country, but out here, the pace is just a little bit different, but starting out, we're going to be rocking about 8 or 9 different units.
Okay. I mean, I know you talked some numbers on your channel. Are you open to sharing some numbers or?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. So
always.
Oh, there you go. So let's say off your current 3 tiny homes. I mean, what are you looking at for net this year? I'm sure you've probably ran projections or where you should finish up.
Well, let's see, on the Joshua Tree tiny house, if we're looking at the net of that, if I did 83,000 last year, I imagine that I'll be 70 to 75 this year.
Okay.
Gross. And so my net on, let's say 70,000 would be, I don't know. Yeah, probably 45K, somewhere on that. It'll be 45, 50K, I think, because my bills on that property are they're so low. And also I apply a heavy amount of principal. I think I just double the mortgage payment at this point, which there are schools of thinking that say you should not do that, but I like the idea of just building equity. So I would say on my tiny house in Joshua Tree, I'll net 45 to 50 this year. I feel pretty comfortable with that estimate. My tiny house in my backyard, I rent now for $2,800 a month. I do what's called a midterm lease. And that basically means that I rent that for 30 days or more, because in LA, you can't actually do short-term rentals without a permit. And even if you have the permit, you can only rent it for 180 days a year or something like that. So I just decided to convert it to a long-term rental by renting my place on Airbnb for 30 days or more at a time. So I call that a midterm rental. So now I'm charging about $2,800 a month on that. My profit on that is going to be $2,400 to $2,500 because again, my expenses on that are super low. So in a perfect year, we'll be looking at 26,000 on my tiny house in my backyard. That tiny house cost me $72,000 to build. So pretty good numbers on that. And then my tiny house in Arizona is like a small little A-frame off grid. We built it for $35,000. And that one, that one probably pulls in like 35 to 45,000 a year. Profit on that, because we pay like a co-host on the Glamp side and everything like that. Profit on that's probably going to be, if we do 40,000, then about 25 to 30,000 of that will be a profit. So yeah, we've paid that back a couple times at this point, I think.
Yeah, I tell you what, that's the great. I mean, I don't. My Airbnb experience is not as extensive as yours, but I think after dealing with it, I probably wouldn't mess with a long-term rental ever again, because you can really double or triple your rental income from the start, and you can pay things off definitely much quicker. Even the unit in my backyard is only 200 square feet. It's a 1 bedroom, 1 bath. It was a complete shell, and added all the plumbing, the AC, everything in there. 200 square feet, that's it. And it consistently, I average about 18,000 a year off of that. So it does about 1,500 a month consistently, and it only costs 20,000, about 20,000 to renovate that whole piece, that whole shed. So
it's amazing.
Yeah. So, I mean, it paid itself off practically in the first year and a half or so. And then it's been profitable ever since. So, what are your keys? I know I have my 2 key takeaways for any Airbnb. If somebody was interested or looking at or in the process of Airbnb, what are like 2 or 3 things that are must do's for that?
Well, if you're looking to get into Airbnb, I mean, I think for me, a big part of it is automation. Like, it's so easy to get in the weeds of your business. And I kind of think that as business owners, we should be in the weeds of our business at first. So when you start an Airbnb, instead of automating it all, I always push people to like answer all your messages, set all your own pricing, coordinate with your cleaners, and kind of do as much as you can in-house. And then after about 1 to 3 months, when you've truly like learned, loved, been profitable at, and mastered the kind of how to Airbnb, then you can start automating your messages. You can start automating your pricing. And what I mean by that is, generally speaking, when someone books your place, you have to send them a message that says, "Hey, Levi, thanks for booking my place. Here's everything you need to know. Check-in is at 4. The lockbox code is this and that." So we have to send those messages out manually. However, you can hire different automation platforms like Smart B&B, but now called hospitable.com. Your Porter's like another one. And basically on those guys, you can pay like $8 a month, and they actually have automated templates to where when someone messages you or books your place, it'll respond on your behalf, and it'll give them all the relevant information that they need to know. And then on top of that, like, pricing is the same way. Instead of going in and guessing like, oh, I think 150 is going to be good here, or like 175. Well, there are AI platforms that use the algorithm, use like a specific algorithm to determine the market supply and demand on any given day. So that algorithm will choose the optimal price point for your 1, 2, 3 bedroom place in Dallas, Texas, for example. So yeah, it's been really great. And I think those can range anywhere from like 1% of your gross revenue. Or you can do like another one like Price Labs, which is what I use. And Price Labs, I think, is like $10 a month or something like that. So, I guess that to me would be the must-have, is like, how quickly can you automate your business so that you're not spending 10, 15 hours a week, like running your Airbnb. Like, I try myself to spend like around 2 hours a week on my business, but I've since scaled up. I now have like an executive assistant. I've been able to do that. But up until like, I don't know, 3-4 months ago, I was running my whole entire Airbnb business like by myself, basically, and pretty minimal time overall, just because I had all my systems automated and in place. But now I have an assistant, and I just make her, deal with everything. And like, she checks in with me on big stuff, and then I'll give her like a directive from there. But my assistant is hourly. Well, she's like salaried, but like from an hourly perspective, very affordable compared to a lot of different property managers that will charge you 15, 20, 25, 30% of your gross revenue which to me is just never worth it.
Right. No, that's great. So, I mean, that's pretty amazing to net. You're going to be netting close to six figures and pretty much have all of that automated now. So again, as you build out that community, I think this is applicable. It's not just Airbnb, but this is in any type of business, or especially in the real estate business, is that, working in those systems and also letting go. I know that most of us want to try to control absolutely everything, but when Rob is shaking his head right now saying, yeah, that's, it is, but at the same time, when you get the right people in place and the right systems, man, it frees you up so much to work on so much more there. So I want to open it up to some questions as well here in a minute or two. So if anybody, we actually are on Clubhouse as well at the same time.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Well, we wasn't sure. I mean, the app was like completely down this morning, so I didn't want to risk it. And, just want to be respectful of your time. So just figured we would host that. So if anybody has any questions, feel free to raise your hand and come up on stage. And then also real quick on YouTube. So if you could kind of relay this to, as a business owner, or think of a real estate agent mindset, so to speak, how are you monetizing off of YouTube other than AdSense?
Yeah, man. I mean, there are a bunch of different ways. When I quit my job, I was making $110,000 at my salary job as an advertising copywriter, which is really great money. But I quit that job in, let's see, March, I think, just this last March. It's been 7 months, and I have since 15x'd my income just from like being able to focus on all the different businesses and scaling up. So AdSense is definitely one, but partnerships and brand deals are another one. Affiliates are another one. So for example, this year, I think I'm going to make 70 or 80,000 on YouTube for all of 2021. And then on AdSense, and then I'll make probably, my guess is going to be like 30 to 40,000 on ad deals, like on sponsorships. So just right there, that's like 100K that I make from YouTube. And I'm sorry, I don't know if you were asking about numbers, but hey, I'm giving them to you. Hopefully other YouTubers can, take inspiration instead of think that I'm bragging, but like I'm open about this because I want people to know what's possible. So that's just on like the funnel, right? Like that's the very beginning of YouTube. But if you know me, I talk about Airbnb, right? And I'm an Airbnb ambassador. I get a commission anytime anyone signs up with my link to host. So if I inspire anyone in my videos to start an Airbnb business, like if they sign up with my link, I get a commission from Airbnb. I think just in the last like 6 or 8 months, I'm sitting like just over 100K in affiliate commissions from Airbnb. Then I've got my Airbnb business, which is about $25,000 net a month. So that comes out to about 300K or so a year. Very, very thankful for that. So like you can see, like everything kind of starts with the funnel of YouTube, because that's where it all really starts for me. Like I've probably had just from YouTube like $20 to $30 million worth of investment capital offered to me in the last like 2 or 3 months. Like literally like 3, 4, 500 investors have reached out to invest with me. I don't take any of them. I actually feel bad. I haven't ever like responded to them. I have the option for people to reach out to invest with me, but I'm very, very, very selective about who I take on, because, when you're messing with someone else's money, it's a whole nother business. It's like a whole nother ball game. It's very serious. Like I crush it on my own, but I now have this like obligation to crush it significantly more for an investor. And so I just don't take them on for fear of being spread thin and not delivering on what I say I'm going to do. So I've got that. I've got a few deals, like a very small amount of deals that I work on that, where basically I partner up with investors to buy houses for them, and they bring the capital and the borrowing power, and then I bring the automation management. I pick the place, we help them close on it, and it's a 50-50 partnership and 50-50 ownership. So I'm basically managing and picking out their property, and I'll get 50% stake in this property, but it's completely passive for that investor. So I imagine 1 year from now, I'll probably have, like, in a perfect world, about 15 to 20 houses that I'll buy with investors that I'll own half of effectively. And so the cash flow from that will be 20, 30,000 every single month, I imagine, hopefully more. And then I also sell programs and mentorship. Like that's the by far the biggest like source of income for me, is that I sell courses. Like I have one course that's called Glamp Camp, teaches everybody how to start a glamping business. And I have another program called Host Camp, which is an entire mentorship program that teaches you like literally everything you could possibly need to know about starting an Airbnb business. And it's been really great, man. I didn't expect for those to take off in the way that they did, but I'm really thankful, just because it's cool. Because for YouTube, the best I can really give you is like 15, 20, 25-minute videos. Not a lot of people will watch those entire videos, because who wants to hear me talk about throw pillows and fake plants, right? But people who participate in my mentorship programs and like in my Airbnb programs, they are like, they crave that minutia, that excruciating detail that I go into about starting an Airbnb business. And so I feel like having a teaching platform that's even bigger than YouTube is just like very gratifying. I just ended the first cohort of Host Camp. And man, I don't know. I've gotten emotional about it several times, because so many people have reached out. They've sent me messages on Instagram. They've sent me email. They've sent me like direct messages on Facebook. And they're like, dude, this was like life-changing. My whole life is going to be different because of my Airbnb. Like, hey, check out my first month. I made 10 grand. And I'm just like I always read it to my wife, and I have to take like little pauses to like get through the message. And she's like, wait, why'd you stop? And I was like, sorry, I got to collect myself a little bit here. So like being able to teach on a bigger platform than YouTube and give all of like who I am and what I have to offer to people has been super gratifying for me. So coursework probably makes up, I don't know, like 70% of my income at this point.
Oh, wow. So you're saying 500, 600, 700K?
No, probably just north of $1 million for 2021.
For the courses?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. There you go. So a couple of things you mentioned in there, I think are really, really key, is that, I mean, being able to help people, like you said, talking about do it yourself around the house, like throw pillows and plants, right? I mean, there's that you're providing value, but it's very difficult to monetize that value, right? And so here you're offering people value, but what you're also doing is teaching them how to make money, which is very, very valuable. And therefore, as you can see, they say your net worth is determined by the value you provide to other people. And so that, I think that's a direct correlation of now you're helping people, like you said, start their own businesses and actually make money. And who knows, maybe get themselves out of financial strain and situations that they weren't able to do that before, even with just a job. But also, I think what was really key too, is you said you've been offered upwards of 20 to 30 million in investment opportunities, or investors basically approaching you, which I think this really plays into the factor, guys, we talk about. This is what really correlates to real estate agents, is that nowhere else, I believe, is a stronger platform than YouTube for people to develop a relationship with you. Just the same as when Rob walked up to the bar, I felt like I already knew him, and I could just say, Rob. I knew calling him out by Rob and saying, hey man, what's going on? That wasn't going to be an issue. It's the same with the real estate clients that call us every single day. But think about this. Think about people that have to chase down investments. Think about people that have to pitch their business, or they have to go and you've heard the stories, right? About the people that see 20, 30, 40, 50 investors or angel investors, whatever they're trying to do, they have to pitch themselves. And the reason people get passed up so much is because there's always that level of uncertainty with the investor, right? They're thinking, okay, here's this person standing in my office, didn't know them yesterday, didn't know them the day before, and now they're asking for 100, 200, $1 million to invest in their business. All they can really look at is the balance sheet sometimes. And if you're starting something new, they don't even have that to compare it to. So with YouTube, Rob is demonstrating all of the value up front, not only for people that want to start their own business, but for investors or people that want to be in business with him. And so if he wanted $20 million in investment or wanted to finance his whole tiny home community, all he has to do is reply to a couple of emails, and it would literally be that simple, right?
Yeah, it's pretty wild, man. I mean, I'm just thankful, honestly, because I do feel like what you see on camera, I feel like that's who I am, you know? I mean, obviously, like, I don't know. I mean, sometimes I would say YouTube, if I'm like scale of 1 to 10, like the Rob meter, I'm always at a 10. YouTube occasionally might hit 11 because, like, you know, obviously it's like, it's YouTube, but not really. Like, I don't think, you know, I try to make it to where if anyone ever says hi, I'm like, what's up, man? You know, like I give everyone as much attention as I would before YouTube, right? Because I'm like, it's who I am. I like talking to people. I like meeting people and stuff like that. So I think that a lot of investors feel exactly what you're saying, where they're like, I know this guy. And so like, I'll talk to investors like all day, all the time. And they'll, you know, I'll say like, well, yeah, and I was working on this and blah, blah. They're like, I know. And then they'll like go into detail about the thing that I was talking about. And I was like, oh, that's right. They probably saw my YouTube video where I like talked about that in depth. And so they do kind of come into it knowing. So like selling an investor is no longer selling an investor for me when I'm kind of going through this process. It's more like picking an investor. And that is really nice. It's nice to be like, okay, you know, I don't have to like pitch myself anymore.
Right.
And if I do, I just move on because there's no reason for me to like work an investor for 20 hours when like I have a whole candidate pool of people that are just like, hey, I have $1 million. What should I do with this? So it just kind of play into some ways that I'm working on investments and everything. Like I'm starting a fund where I'm going to be building 20 houses in Joshua Tree. We're going to be raising like $3 to $5 million for that. And the total construction, I think, is going to come out to like 9 or 10 million. And, you know, I've got a significant investor pool that they're like, hey, as soon as you have that, let me know, because I will invest like $500,000 in that tomorrow. So it makes those types of projects easier. And that's honestly more where I'm going, because I can like sort of bundle a bunch of investors into one project and give my time to a group of people versus like a specific person. And that's kind of what I've learned on YouTube, is that I've scaled up every aspect of my business, but there's still only one of me. So I have to figure out how to give less of my time and still kind of have it be monetarily worth it. And so like something like a fund, I can raise money from a bunch of investors. I can do one Zoom call to talk to the 20 investors instead of taking 20 Zoom calls to take on individual investments. It makes less and less sense for me to do that. And that's why I don't really like take on a ton of investors, because yes, I could fund my tiny house village, but you know, if I did that 20 times, I'd lose my mind, because I don't have the time to do that.
Right. I mean, that's amazing. I mean, I think it's really key to what we're doing. And it's the same way in the real estate business. We see this as well, is that, you know, I mean, we don't have to do outbound to chase, or we don't have to chase clients, right? They come, it's all inbound. They come asking to do, they actually ask us, do you have time for us? You know, would you consider working with us? I mean, if you look at all of our emails, they're pretty much ended the same way, which is, please reach out to us if you have time to, you know, so it's almost like they're asking us to consider them as a client. And so that's the great thing about it. So if I could, I'm going to open it up real quick. Let's see if we have any questions. I'm sure Matt always usually has a question. I don't want to put him on the spot, but I kind of do want to put him on the spot. Or we could
come on, Matt.
Or we can jump down to, yeah, go ahead, Matt.
Hey, well, first of all, thank you, man. This first of all, I just appreciate the authenticity and the vulnerability of you sharing. Sure. I think, you know, everyone here in the clubhouse room, at least, and certainly watching on Facebook, is probably thinking what I'm thinking, which is, you know, coming from a place of abundance, that, you know, you're definitely not bragging about it. I think just to hear the results are absolutely amazing. So I appreciate that. But really my question is, now knowing what you know, and this is like one of my favorite questions to ask of all content creators, regardless of the platform, is tomorrow you wake up and your channel just totally disappears, right? Where are you starting over? Like what's the 5 things that you're implementing, before the end of the year that, is going to take you to the next level with all the knowledge that you have now?
Yeah. So do you mean this like in regards to restarting a YouTube channel or just like in life in general?
I appreciate that, actually. I'll let you take it wherever you want. I was thinking more YouTube, but I love that you turned it. So either way.
Yeah. I'm just wondering. I mean, I kind of grapple with this one, if I'm being honest. Like, I feel like my channel is where it's at in a large part because of luck. Like I think a lot of it starts out with luck and then it flip-flop. I think it's like 90% luck, 10% talent. And then as you begin to develop, it always flip-flops and it becomes 90% talent and 10% luck. And so for me, like, I have no idea why that first video ever took off. And if it wasn't for the YouTube gods, like picking me and like making that video go viral, it wouldn't have caused a chain reaction of making my other videos go viral and all that kind of stuff. So I always grapple with like, if I lost the channel tomorrow, could I build up Robuilt back to where it's at? And I think so. But I think it would take, I don't know. I think it would take a long time. So I think for me, YouTube is a little bit of a game for sure, because there are definitely algorithmic choices that you have to make and everything like that. But for me, like, there are a lot of mistakes that I can cut through. Like when you're starting a channel, I always tell people that your first 20 videos are they're going to suck. Like there's no if, and, or but about it. Like you don't know what you're doing. The editing's going to be bad. The intro is going to be super long. So just by like learning that, like a few things that I took away from Vid Summit specifically, which is like have a hook in the first 5 seconds and, try to take out as much fluff as possible. Try to increase, average viewer retention and stuff like that. I think for me, like I would probably format a new channel where the first 5 seconds are king and getting people hooked. I would definitely put a lot of time into making sure that all my video topics and everything in the kind of like from the marketing side of the YouTube, like for me, the title is everything. And then the thumbnail is also everything. So for me, I would spend a lot more time focusing on making sure that my titles are a lot more, I hate to say it, but clickbaity. And it's not clickbait when you deliver on the actual topic that you're trying to bait people into. I heard someone on TikTok say that clickbait's kind of like a toupee. There are horrible toupees and you can tell it's a toupee and it never works out for that person. But if it's a really good toupee, you don't know. You think it's just their hair. And that's how clickbait should be approached on YouTube. Like you want people to look at your title and your topic and your thumbnail and say, I don't believe that, but I have to click to find out. And so for me, I always try to get people to kind of go that route when they're like looking at my thumbnails. Like for example, my video yesterday was called How I Burn All My Money as a Millionaire. What that video is actually about is how my spending habits have changed as a millionaire. And I talk about, my business essentials and hiring staff. And I talk about brokenness revenge and how, I buy things now that I didn't buy when I was super broke because I'm like, these are things I always wanted. And so now I'm going to spend money on sushi. And so I talk about like everything. It's a full spectrum of my entrepreneurial journey. And it is technically talking about how I burn all my money, but I'm not actually like talking about how I'm buying Ferraris and stuff. I mean, I talk about that a little bit, I definitely deliver on the title and everything like that. But for me, I think you want people to be a little satisfied with like the topic and the thumbnail and the title after watching your video and being like, oh, I get what he was going for, And so for me, I would put so much more time and effort into that. Whereas when I was starting my YouTube channel, I was so focused on the actual topic itself and like the content. And I was just like, I think I'm going to shoot something about Airbnb. Let's just turn on the camera and go. And then I would retroactively, create the thumbnail and the title and everything like that. Now I try to approach all my videos where I think of the title first. And once I have that nice hooky title, as I call it, then I make the video around that title. So as far as the 5 action steps, definitely going to be working on, what was that? What's the first one that I said? Oh, average, first 5-second hook. Yeah. Average view duration is huge. The mecca is like if you can get 70% average view duration. Honestly, I'm just hoping for 50. And then 3, I'm working on title and thumbnail and topic to kind of hook people into my content. There are probably a 4 and 5 there, but I would definitely like try to monetize my channel. I guess 4 would be like monetization. How can I monetize whatever channel I'm going to start as quickly as possible? Usually that's going to be through affiliates, but you know, maybe I wouldn't want to do like Airbnb and tiny houses again if I had to start over. Maybe I would just do something in real estate, but I would definitely figure out what knowledge I have in my head that people like and how can I monetize that as quickly as possible through teaching it and teaching people how to do it from the ground up. So for me, that's obviously going to be tiny houses and Airbnb. So I probably would just go that route. And then 5th, just for shits and giggles, no, I don't have one. Those are the 4. I think that pretty much covers a lot.
Yeah. You get Matt, you get 4. So fill in the blank with the number 5. And I want to backtrack a little bit on Rob here and say clickbaity. We could use the word intriguing or enticing, but also I want to replace luck, Rob, with persistence. I say, and you said you don't know how that video took off. It's because you made it. Number 1, you have to actually press record and make the videos for anything to happen. And then I think luck happens for those that are persistent, right? The more persistent you are, the more opportunities are going to open up just by default. So I don't want to take anything away from Rob's success. And that's the things that he was putting in the work, creating the content, and also critiquing his craft. And I think that is very important too. Didn't just sit around and wonder why. You can hear from his own words, how involved he is in every aspect of his business. He's a student as well of the game. And so, like you said, YouTube's kind of like a game. Well, the best players understand how to play the game. And so I would imagine that you've spent quite some time understanding YouTube as a platform in general too. Clearly, I mean, you're at the creator conference. Oh, yeah. You're there to pick up more opportunities. So if we can, let's jump to Anita. Anita, I think you had a question. How are you?
Good. How are you? Thanks for all the info, Rob. It's been great.
For sure.
Kind of a more specific question. So I have a YouTube channel that has almost 13,000 subscribers on it, not intentionally. It's like I used to be on a dance team in college. I used to like post my dance videos on there. And I haven't done like anything with it. I've never monetized it, nothing. I was wondering if you would create a completely separate channel for real estate, or would you try to like repurpose that channel just so you can like get a head start?
That is a really, really good question. It kind of depends on the platform. Like, for example, when I was first starting TikTok, I was just doing like whatever content. And so I was kind of unsure, if I should start a new TikTok channel and focus on start another one that's like real estate focused. But I talked to a guy and he was like, man, the way TikTok works is like, no matter what videos you make, it's going to be served to the relevant platforms. On YouTube, it depends. When was your last video that you ever created?
I think it was May of this year. It's a dance video.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, you may be better off just starting the new channel, specifically because all those people that have ever subscribed to you, they subscribe to you because of dance videos. And so if let's just say you have like the most banger video ever and you're like, how I made $1 million on my first real estate deal, whatever. Well, those people probably don't care. They care about dancing and everything. They probably subscribe to other dancing content. So the chances of those 13,000 people ever clicking on anything that's a complete departure from what your channel is, I think it's going to be like a slim chance. Like for me at my level, like I have 135,000 subscribers. I experiment with content all the time. And I mean, all the time. I have so many content ideas and niches outside of tiny houses and Airbnb because I don't always want to talk about that. So I'm always experimenting with like wholesaling and entrepreneurial battles and like quitting your 9 to 5. And I can and vlogs, and I can easily see when my audience doesn't like it. Like anytime I do anything that's too far out, it's like the worst like performing video on my entire channel. So all to say, even if I wanted to create dance content on my channel, it probably would be the worst performing content because no one knows me as, you know, a dancer, right? So as much as it pains me to say to like, you know, leave those 13,000 subscribers behind, I think that you would find better success creating a new channel. But ultimately, like, I would say before you do that, maybe try a couple of videos. Like you can always like post it on your 13,000 subscriber channel, see how they do. And if they totally tank, you can just repost those videos on an entirely new channel. Like there's no rules on that kind of stuff. And most likely the same people would never even see that to begin with. What do you think, Levi?
Good advice. Thank you.
Yeah. I mean, I in my research and understanding, I mean, first of all, I think anything can happen with anything. So
yeah, 100%.
You can't guarantee it. I think from a strategy standpoint, I mean, my recommendation would probably be start a new channel. And just because in those first couple of videos, if people find that content and all they have to fall back on is a lot of dance videos, and that's the majority, then they might assume, well, this is really a dance video, or, you know, something along those lines. They just might get mixed messages. I think that's one thing that, at least for what we're doing, I mean, I'm saying what we're doing. I'm not sure what your goal would be with the real estate channel, Anita. I think I do, but you know, our goal is to monetize, and it's not necessarily, you mentioned the word head start, and that's something that you think you have the head start because you have 13,000 subscribers. But if it's not the right audience for what you're trying to accomplish, then those 13,000 subscribers may not matter. And so, you know, we've been very strategic about developing our audience and allowing YouTube to find that audience, which I believe, you know, for us subscribers, you know, back in analytics was not necessarily the only goal was, can we make the phone ring? And we had the phone ringing when we had 48 subscribers. So nobody was looking at our subscriber count, you know, saying, hey, you only have 48 subscribers. Are you even a legit real estate agent? You know, they just said, hey, you're providing great value. Thank you. You know, we're looking to buy a house. And so just, I think being clear on the goals of what you want to accomplish. And so I wouldn't look at the 13,000 necessarily as a head start because you want it to be the right audience. And I think YouTube is absolute the best at helping you find your audience for you as well. So the clearer you can be, especially with the channel, I think always the better. So
I will say one final word on this. Go to your top 10 favorite YouTubers, and then go to their very first video and look at their first 5 videos and see what they were. Funny enough, most of the time, every single YouTuber that you ever see didn't actually start off as the channel that they've become. So it doesn't mean that you can't pivot.
Right. Yeah. Like I said, I believe anything can happen. I just think from a strategic standpoint, it's better to just start with the clean slate and then work on building that brand through that channel, you know?
Yeah.
Now, I do think what's important though, I mean, if dance is a big part of your life, I think that's something that you incorporate in your videos. Like if you're showing people around town or telling them about a certain neighborhood or suburb, you mentioned, oh, I used to go over here and this is where we did all of our dance practices. So I think little mentions like that is what helps people develop the relationship with you as they watch your videos, instead of, you know, having videos just based on what you want to do. Then you incorporate some of the things you like in those videos. And that's where people start to relate and get to know you a lot better as a person versus just a real estate agent who is, my name is Levi, I'm a real estate agent. If you want to buy, sell, invest, follow me in this house as I show you around, you know? And so it's very, you create a different environment to where you incorporate yourself. Just like I know Rob loves Chipotle, right? So he mentions it in videos. Yeah, he says it's true. Although now it appears he's graduated to sushi with all of his affiliate business. But
because I'm so fancy.
Yeah, he's so fancy now. But all right, let's move over to, let's see. I'm gonna refresh real quick. We got Justin? Are you there? Do you have a question for Rob? If you're there, Justin.
I think he's in listen mode.
Okay, all right.
Hey, Levi, we do have one in the chat on Zoom.
Okay, let's. So question in the chat from Nicole is, was it all done with AI or did you pay for any advertising? Do you also use any other social media platforms? So I'm assuming she means, did you just use AI you said you work everything in the beginning on your own, right?
Yes. Yeah, for sure. And then the AI, if she's talking about like the automation and all that stuff, I mean, I use that once I start automating. The automated messaging is like $7-8 a month. The automated pricing is like $10 a month. So honestly, it's pretty affordable. Do I pay for advertising? No, I have never paid for an ad ever on anything. I don't think. Let me think about that. Yeah, I don't think so.
Well, I'll tell you, my experience with Airbnb is I've never paid. I mean, people are on there, they're searching. It's the great thing. I think that's the great thing about YouTube as well, is I say, that's the difference between somebody. People on YouTube, at least who are researching real estate, they're extremely intentional. They are in the buying process. Just like when somebody gets on Airbnb, very few people I know go on Airbnb to just browse. They go on there because they have the intention of booking a place. And of course, the more you're established, the more, better ratings you have, and really proximity of where you're at, as long as you're in a good location. I mean, you don't have to do anything because the audience is there and they're looking for the solution to their problem, which their problem is they need a place to stay in your area. And so that's why I love Airbnb, is because you don't have to advertise. You don't have to. I mean, even when I wasn't a super host, I was still fully booked. And that's the reason I got to super host after the first quarter. So that's the great thing. I also believe, it's the same thing with YouTube, especially in the real estate space. When people are on there, they are researching, they're extremely intentional, and they're in the process of making a decision. So that's the great thing. So are you okay, Rob? You got a couple more minutes? I don't want to keep you too
give
long.
me we can do like one or two more questions.
Okay. Let me jump to
depends on how profound they are.
Yeah, like Matt asking what's the meaning of life, probably. Let's jump to, well, Christina, do you have a question, or are you just hanging out? Or Christina Smallhorn, did you meet her at Vid Summit, Rob?
Yeah, I think I met her one night we were all hanging, like everyone, the whole real estate sector was in that one bar.
Okay, there you go.
I was not drinking, by the way. Rob, I guess I didn't recognize you at Vid Summit. I did, like Rob was saying earlier, is that you kind of like study other people's channels, and he did a video on like prefab, and I was like, how can I turn that and make that work for my channel? So when you're doing your like recon and research, he was one of the channels I always go back and research, going, hey, let me look at his titles real quick and see what I can come up with for my own channel.
Oh, that's hilarious. Oh man. Well, hey, nice to meet you. Yeah, I was. That's funny. I was excited to meet you.
Yeah.
Well, I'm excited to meet you. I wish I would have like recognized you. I feel like a tool now.
It's okay. I was only hurt for a little bit, but hey, we're friends now, I think.
Yeah, we're buddies.
All right. Well, thanks for hanging out, Christina. Earl, let's jump down to Earl real quick. Earl, are you there? Do you have a quick question for Rob?
I am here, and thanks for inviting me up. I do have a quick question. Being that a lot of content is going to short form, should I be as invested in short form as I am in long form video?
Oh, yeah, you should. I mean, so should I, by the way. It's, dude, for me, if I'm being honest, yes, like you have to do shorts, and like that's a big part, and that's a really big way to grow your channel. I don't do it only because I'm like barely able to get one long form video on my channel, but I'm actually hiring a second editor right now who will be kind of in charge of doing all of my cut downs. and they'll be taking existing YouTube content and cutting it down into 30 and 60-second cut downs for YouTube Shorts and for TikTok. But yeah, man, I would not sleep on short forms, specifically because I just started TikTok in August. I've made 13 TikToks, and I think I'm at 60,000 followers so far. And just in the literally in the last 3 days, I think I've gotten 20,000 followers on TikTok. And so if I applied that same method to YouTube, it could be huge. So if you have the time and you're like, man, I'm super serious about starting a channel, I'll do anything it takes, I think like the short form content is definitely going to be a really nice way to get a head start on kind of gaining some of those initial subscribers.
Yeah. And real quick to that. So we started a TikTok channel and a shorts channel, and it's not from my efforts. It is literally, we are chopping up every piece of our long form content and chopping it into 30 to 60-second increments. And we just started our TikTok channel on October 1st. The hashtag, and I put my hashtag of my name in there on all the videos based on Glenda Baker's feedback. I looked this morning, it's already being searched 13,000 times in TikTok. And my last name's pretty unique, so I know it should be unique to me. It's crazy. We're gaining views already through TikTok, and we're just capturing additional audience, but it's not any more of my additional effort because it's just all of our long form content chopped up. So I think my recommendation is, I don't know, long form content can feed all the other platforms. So it's a really good use of your time. So let's do one more question, Rob, if that's okay. I want to get to my man, sure. Ruben. Ruben just jumped up here. So Ruben, do you have, he snuck in here real quick. So Ruben, if you're there, you got a quick question for Rob?
You know what? I was invited, I want to say, through Facebook, Levi, and I just want to say what's up, because we met in Sarasota, Florida. So what's up? Thank you so much for the value that you gave that day. But also, when I was in the group, I heard somebody talk about Airbnb and short-term rentals and what that looks like to push that out, and do you pay for advertising? And I see that this is a YouTube stage as well. So I'll say that one thing, this isn't really paying for advertising, but one thing we've done is just started documenting the process, buying the property, rehab, the roaches, the rats, everything. It looks like the rehab of property, and then where it goes from there, right? All the way to live. We've just been documenting the process and putting that process on YouTube. When a guest stays in the property, there's a little plaque that says, follow the story of this house, from like a poop emoji to a crown, and they can QR code it and actually watch the story of the house. We've had nothing but good feedback from that. It also builds demand for your units, because now your homes have property, or homes have a story. So it's not really paying for advertisement, but since I see YouTube, real estate, and I heard Airbnb, I was like, man, I'm gonna jump up there and just tell them what we're doing, which has helped bring more people to our market, which I'm in Fayetteville, North Carolina, which is starting to get a little saturated with those type of investors working for short-term rentals. And it's been a way to separate us from the competition. And the second point, there's a company called Repurpose that pulls your long form. If you can't hire anybody, just hire somebody on your team. There's a company called Repurpose that does grab your long form videos and chops them down to TikTok, IG Reels, and that type of thing, so you get more exposure. But yeah, I just heard that.
Yeah, that sounds awesome, man.
Through Facebook, and I was like, boom, I'm jumping on.
All right, thanks, Ruben. Thanks for that. That's actually, I like that points. Those points, telling the story.
Yeah, repurpose sounds cool.
Yeah, or even I like that, creating the story in YouTube. You could create a playlist of like a rehab project or something. I think that's pretty good too.
Yeah,
so,
I'm conflicted on that, because I don't really like to reveal that I'm a YouTuber. I talk about money a lot, I guess. So that's always like one thing for me, is like when I meet contractors and they're like, what do you do? I'm never like, oh, I've got a YouTube channel. It's called Robuilt, because I'm always scared of just like them being like, you make this much. So I always kind of keep that under wraps. And then in the house, I think that's another one. I don't know. I think I didn't care about privacy nearly as much, like up until 3 months ago. And now I'm just kind of like, I should probably be more serious about not not being so like open, but I always will be. But I don't know. I need to think about that, because I do think that the people that actually stay at your houses could probably be the most loyal types of subscribers. So I need to chew on that. That seems like a pretty good idea.
Well, if you want to see example, just hit up my YouTube at Proven by Ruben. But at least what we have seen, and to each his own, right? But at least what we have seen is we've got great feedback on, because I'm also a real estate agent as well. So not only do we get great feedback from the guest and the storytelling, we're also having other investors reach out to us, because it's building that kind of demand too, and saying, hey man, thank you for documenting the process. Thank you for exposing the numbers, this and that, and maybe little ways that we could find to save a little bit of money. And they appreciate it. And then they want to work with our team for the investor side. So it's a different mindset. I guess if you got to look at it, it does expose you more, right? Grant Cardone says if they don't know you, they don't flow you. So it's just a little bit more just exposing your home, who you are, and separating yourself from the other investors who are in the market.
For sure, man. All right, Proven by Ruben. I'll check you out today.
So Rob, any closing words of wisdom you would like to share just to close us out here?
Yeah, for sure. Well, any closing words of wisdom? Oh man, I don't know. So much pressure, Levi.
Matt wants to know if you thought of the fifth meaning to life yet.
Let's see, the fifth meaning to life. No, I have not. I'll have to do a follow-up. I'm down. We should do this again sometime. But
now let me prep you real quick for closing words of wisdom. Is that a lot of people in this room are just starting their YouTube journey. They either have not started their channel, or they're in the process, or they might be filming a couple of things. So what's a really key, one or two things as a new YouTuber / real estate agent, what would you share with them that would kind of help them?
Yeah, definitely. Okay, that's great context. Well, ultimately, I'm going to say this. You have got to be committed to being a student of YouTube, like forever. You never get so good at YouTube that you just stop studying it. I went to Vid Summit this year because I still want to learn from the best. I'm still consuming so much content from Think Media, from channel makers, from Catherine Manning, from Film Booth. These are all people that are how to start a YouTube channel. Just because I've started a YouTube channel and I have 135,000 subscribers doesn't mean that you can ever rest on your laurels, because I have high points where I hit the algorithm and I'm like, oh my God, it's great. This is so great. I made so much money just on AdSense and I'm so happy. But then I also have low points. I'm in a low point right now. My last month was by far the best month I've ever had on YouTube, just by multitude. This month is in comparison, it's going to be horrible. But that doesn't mean that it's because I'm bad. It just means I have stuff to learn. I can examine the content from the last month. I can go to all these different channels and figure out what's working, what's not working. Funny enough, a lot of this content that I made was advice that I was trying to follow from Vid Summit. But a lot of that advice changes the way I was already contrary to how I was doing videos. So now I'm learning maybe I should just do it my way versus the professional way. But you got to know the rules before you can break them ultimately. So you need to be watching 100% YouTube content for if you're serious about starting a channel, stop watching TV, stop watching movies for 6 months to 12 months and just consume as much content as you can, as much how-to content as you can, and then pick your 5 favorite creators. For me, that was Graham Stephan, Shelby Church, Peter McKinnon, Casey Neistat, some other person I'm sure, living in Dallas, Texas. And for me, that's all I watched. And I studied them and I said, okay, how can I put my own spin on that? And that's ultimately what helped the Robuilt style come into place. It's Alive with Brad Leone was a huge one for me. So that kind of stuff for me, it's watch videos where you really like the editing. Editing is super key. That's what's going to really make or break a channel, I think. Shout out, Caleb. Be a student, never stop studying it. Stop watching TV, just watch YouTube. I'm not saying it's the best from a social, taboo, people, it's don't be addicted to your screen. But if you want to cut it in YouTube, you kind of have to be, and you have to be unapologetic about it. I'm very unapologetic about how much YouTube I watch. That's what I love. And so that's what I'm going to continue to watch and see.
And yeah, mic drop. I mean, that was amazing. And that's a great segue, Rob, because you mentioned Think Media. And I will just preface everyone with next week, our special guest is Sean Cannell himself.
Cool. Nice.
We'll be here on this very same bat time and very same bat channel. So definitely you want to come back next week because Sean Cannell is the founder of Think Media and one of the best YouTube channels, I believe, especially to learn YouTube in general, but overall,
100%.
Just a great guy as well. Did you meet him at Bid Summit?
I didn't. I should have. I don't know. I didn't. I should have. I wanted to, but he was always talking to people. He followed me on Instagram like 2 months ago, and I was like, and my wife was like, "What?" I was like, "Sean Cannell followed me," and she's like, "Who's that?" I'm like, "The YouTube channel that I follow." But the whole team, I did an interview with Think Media like a couple of weeks ago, so it's up now, and it's like how to start a YouTube channel. And last final plug here, I actually have what is happening? What is this? Are we in a tornado? Oh, okay. Sorry. I made a video called it's a jet. Duh, of course. The Blue Angels felt like they had to come out right now. My God. Okay. ADHD. This is like kind of playing into everything. All right. I have a video called how to start a YouTube channel and my honest thoughts on quote unquote making it. And it gets into like my top tips and tricks for starting a channel. It gets real. It talks about how to monetize. It's like 40 minutes. So strap in. It's a good one. That video, 95% of the people that have seen that video are not even subscribed to my channel. It's like, most of the people that watch that video were aspiring YouTubers. And I think it really clicks because it's like a very honest take on starting a YouTube channel. So check that out on the Robuilt YouTube channel. I posted it like 2 months ago, I think.
Awesome. Rob, thank you so much, man. Really appreciate it. You brought a tremendous amount of value to everyone here. So we just want to thank you. Hopefully you got a few more subscribers today. So
for sure, man. Yeah. Thanks for having me. We'll do it again sometime.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. And you're in Tennessee right now, so have fun. I'm sure you're working on some stuff there for your community. So looking for that. But anyways, man, I appreciate it.
Talk soon.
Thank you for joining us on today's podcast. If you're interested in partnering with us to access our YouTube course and coaching all for free, schedule a call at 5starstrategycall.com.